Yo, this is Oh My Sophie, and you're listening to this Freakin show.
What's up, everybody? I am Travesty.
And I'm Cartoon Joe.
And welcome back to another episode of this freaking show. It is the weekly podcast with a little bit of something and a whole lot of nothing. And I gotta say that God bless Skype for the fact that at least we could still podcast during this whole quarantine pandemic shut-in thing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Skype apocalypse.
Right? I mean, finally Skype is good for something.
Yeah, no kidding.
And who would have thought that somebody would say that shit? But we are here, and today's going to be one of our most monumental, epic episodes, because we're finally going to have a guest I've been trying to get on the show for, I'm going to say, almost a year and a half.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, so I'm excited to kind of jump into that. That's going to happen here in a little bit, but of course we got to do all of our normal goofy things that we normally do. So, Joe, do you want to start out with the That Freakin Happened? Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to start off dark because of the year that we are in. Which I didn't realize this. I learned this just now. On today, April 7th, back in 1994, the Rwandan genocide started.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So, well, I shouldn't say that. The violence erupted in Rwanda, which eventually led to the genocide. But still, massacre of about 500,000 to 1 million innocent civilians. Crazy. Crazy stuff.
Not gonna lie, that, I almost did that one. Cause like, one of the big things, like, especially like when we do like these, That Freakin Happened, I want to pull something that has a little bit of information to it and tell a little bit of story about it. And I was looking at this, I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. But in my mind, I'm like, I gotta find something funnier than that.
That's fair. Genocide is nothing to laugh at.
No, never any aspect whatsoever. But like, I guess to more lighten the mood. I mean, 2020 has really been, like I mentioned last week, quite the dumpster fire.
Indeed. I love those 2020 candles they've got now where it's just a dumpster you put a tea candle in. It's great.
That's awesome. That's why I love you, Joe. You get me, man. You get me. Well, I found something that's going to lighten the mood. April 10th, 1976. U.S. President Gerald Ford, while touring the Alamo during his re-election campaign, bit into a tamale without first removing its husk.
Oh no. That's the most Gerald Ford thing to happen, I think.
This culinary faux pas didn't help his image as a bumbler. Some believe the extensive media coverage of this in Texas cost him the votes in that state.
Oh my goodness.
To lighten the load on everyone here, even our former president, Joe Ford, doesn't know how to eat a fucking tamale. Fun fact of the day.
It's delightful.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Joe, how have you been? You been good?
I've been okay. It's been a very busy week this week because I think people are finally starting to accept that we are in a pandemic.
Right. It's like it's now starting to like click in people's heads. Like, oh shit, something's actually happening.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And just, trying to figure out, how we're going to do our services and, trying to, make sure that all of our employees stay paid. It's just complicated. And it shouldn't be as complicated as it is, but yeah.
Well, one of the things I think really didn't help that is when the president went on and had his speech, and the governor went on and had his speech, and even when our mayor went on and had her speech. Well, I don't want to say our mayor because I don't live in Chicago, but Chicago's mayor. They all said the same thing pretty much. It's like everything's shut down until the end of March.
April. Yeah.
Well, back then. I'm talking about the very beginning.
Yeah.
So in everyone's mind, it's like, oh no, everything's getting shut down for like 2 weeks, blah, 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 but it's okay because everything, but see, fucking, March 31st came and went, and here we are now, week 1 into April almost, and we're still in the same situation, and I think people are starting to kind of fucking now realize this. And there's actually something, that we're gonna talk about here in a little bit, as we talk about, as we go into another segment of, my Corona.
Ooh, nice.
We're going to bring back that game here. It's going to be a little brief one. I do want to talk about some of the things that came about over the course of this whole situation that we're in. And it's more of a lot of this. I mean, the entire game is based on your views, Joe. And I want to give a little input on my end, too, as well of it. Some of these may be slightly controversial. Some of these we probably won't agree on. But for the most part, I think we will, because we do have a general understanding of the situation we're in.
Sure.
It's not only affecting, us in our hometowns, but also the major cities of the states we live in, the entire states themselves, within the entire country that lives in the fucking world that we currently populate. So I want to talk about this, about the stuff that I kind of thought about here. Some of it's kind of goofy, some of it's, not so goofy. But same rules apply. We got Corona Lights, we got Corona Premieres, and we got Corona Extras. And Joe, I wanna give you the thing that I found. I want you to tell me if it's Corona Light, like, oh, big deal. Corona Premiere, like they responded just like I expect they would, or Corona Extra, maybe they should have dealt or should have cared a little more about it. The first one I do want to talk about, which is actually kind of a goofy one, but it does bring a good point that I noticed it came up about. This past Sunday, Mayor Lightfoot, Chicago mayor, went and got her hair cut, and then took a picture with the person that cut her hair. And when you look at the picture, I'm not sure what social media platform it was on. I want to say it was Instagram, but it could have been Facebook or Twitter. I'm not quite sure. I saw the brief photo when I was watching like the YouTube video. I think it was reported on by CNN or something like that. I'm not sure what it is. Mm-hmm. But she took a picture with the hairstylist, no mask, no gloves, and within inches of each other's face, because they're kind of in an embrace, arm over arm and stuff. And a lot of people are in a slight uproar about it, stating that she went out there and gave a speech about the $500 fine when people refuse to partake in the social distancing aspect of everything. Now, after this was brought to her attention, she did have a press conference where she justified the action of getting a haircut by stating that she's a public figure and she's a face of the city, and hygiene is very important to her, so she needs to maintain grooming. Mm-hmm. And she assured everybody that while she was getting her haircut, the stylist had a mask on, the stylist was wearing gloves and everything.
Yeah.
Which, if she did, absolutely awesome. At least she took precautions when she did it. But the biggest problem is the picture did not show gloves, did not show a mask, within inches of each other's face, not showing the social distancing that she's mandating, and also threatening to fine people up to $500 for doing so.
Yeah.
But she goes on and defends it. Now, as far as people being upset about this, are they justified in it? Should they, express more of an issue about it, or maybe not worry too much about it? What Corona are you going to give this one?
Gotcha. I'm torn, because on the one hand, I don't think, okay, sorry. I want to start with, she should not have done that. And I agree that she should not have done that. If I can't get a haircut, she shouldn't be able to get a haircut. It's not, I understand she's a public figure. Funnily enough, I am also a public figure.
That's true.
So I'm not getting my haircut. Now granted, my hair is not the same as hers, so I'm not gonna, whatever. But I have friends on Facebook who were also like, why should she get a haircut? Why can't I? I'm sitting here with my scarf covering up my hair,
Yeah.
And definitely, the hairstylist she's standing next to, that breaks the social distancing for sure. That's a problem.
Yeah.
She should know better. And I understand the need as a public figure, as a black woman, as a lesbian, she has to maintain a certain image, but at the same time, she wants us to take this seriously. She should take it seriously. So
yeah,
it's a tough, yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna put it, she should do better. I'm gonna put it on light, but.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, tell me if you agree with this, and it's just a thought that popped in my head, and I could be completely wrong, but that's why I want to ask you, the question, Joe. Would it have been more impactful if she didn't get the haircut to show that she is also going through the same struggles as us?
Yes.
Like here she is, a woman in power who holds office in our city where no one could go and cosmetically do stuff for themselves. Like those people who go and get manicures and pedicures and facials and, hair appointments and stuff on a weekly or even monthly basis, or monthly or even weekly basis and stuff, that she herself is a public figure who is now who's choosing to follow her or enforce the rules that she's putting forth with it would have been more impactful if she did that. If she went on record and said like, hey, I too would love to get my hair cut, but because of the situation you're in, I'm choosing to socially distancing myself from doing stuff like that.
I agree. Or she is really good at social media. I think. Lots of public figures are having their spouses cut their hair. Yeah. Have your wife do it. I don't care if she's a licensed, she's probably no good at cutting hair, but that you do what you have to do. That's the person you don't have to social distance with because you live with them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I thought, and I look at it in two different ways. Like, first off, this isn't something that needs to take up news time or needs to be looked at.
100%.
It's just nitpicking situations and shit like that. But at the same time, it is bringing up a good point that she is threatening to fine people for actions that she just committed. Right. Now, she went ahead and bought the haircut and threw $500 on top of it and paid the fine that she is enforcing. Okay, then you know what? At least she's living up to what she believes.
Right.
But I mean, the fact is, like, for her to go through and say that, her trying to defend the situation by saying, I need to do this because I care about my hygiene. It's like, well, this isn't like a gyno appointment or a dentist appointment. Right. This is you trimming up your hair, you know, and yes, it falls into a hygiene aspect, but it's not a life or death hygiene situation. So, what about states discussing the release of criminals from prison? And I know Pritzker had a press conference today. They discussed they released, I want to say, about 60 juveniles from detention with minor charges, and some even from the state penitentiaries with some minor charges too. Now there were some prisons, I believe, down south somewhere, I'm not sure, that they want to release older prisoners who had anywhere from minor charges to actual aggravated felonies.
Yeah.
So, I'll turn it to you, the decision on releasing people from prison due to the overpopulation and the effects that Corona has with, social distancing.
Yeah, I think it's an absolute necessity because, none of these people have a death sentence, and I really think it's cruel and unusual to sentence someone to die in a cell, just because they committed a crime. I think that's wrong. I think if you can, maybe there's an order. Maybe it's nonviolent offenders first. Maybe it's people who are older. There's a lot of evidence that once you reach a certain age, your likelihood of committing another crime of the same magnitude goes down to about zero. Usually like 35 years or older. You're not gonna murder anybody because by then your brain is fully developed. You've learned your lesson. Now maybe they're on house arrest. Or something like that, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. I don't think that they, if you're on house arrest, you got to stay home. You can't be out, and if you are out, maybe you do go back right away. But I think a number of people who are going to die unnecessarily, if they're not released, I think it's really it's a public necessity. It's a public good. And, I know some of these people and they're good guys who made bad mistakes when they were younger. And You know, I'd much rather see them have a chance to be on the outside, be rehabilitated, be with their families, than to have them die in what one of my friends called his concrete coffin. You know.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think when you get to a certain age in prison, and depending on what you're put in prison for, if it's a minor thing, let's say like drug trafficking or, you know, distribution of drug, if it's drug related, I wouldn't have a problem with people getting released. If they're in that age group where it's being affected coronavirus related. Mm-hmm. If you mass murdered your entire family with a steak knife because dinner was made wrong, I honestly don't give a shit if you get in and die in prison.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I do believe there needs to be limitations on what they're convicted of and the decision on releasing them. Now, I do believe that there should be some kind of a halfway home situation that they need to kind of be a part of. But I mean, I guess it's really hard if you're releasing, you know, hundreds of people out of
Right.
state prison,
potentially thousands even. Really.
Yeah. So
yeah. I don't think it's a decision that should be taken lightly, but I do think that, you know, there's got to be an answer that balances all the factors, you know. So maybe not perfectly. Not perfectly.
So Corona premiere, like, you know, they need to happen. They're probably doing it the right way.
Yep.
Okay. There was a press conference where Trump stated that the ban could be lifted as soon as the 13th.
Yeah. Light.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some states that are discussing to moving it all the way to the April 30th. And and that's where I want to talk a little bit about that. And I know Sophie got a hold of me. She is ready, so we're going to kind of run through the rest of these here real quick.
Sure.
And we got a little bit of time still, though. But this is my view, and I'm sure you're going to disagree with me. And the only reason I believe you'll disagree with me because you deal a lot more with population and community more than I do. So, and I know you have a special spot in what you do and the people you deal with compared to what I do when I sit at home and do nothing.
Yeah.
I honestly don't care if Trump lifts the ban on the 13th. And the only reason I say that is I feel the same way about that situation as I do about when it comes to gay marriage and abortion. I'm saying that this is all, you know, just I really want to be heard out before people start judging me on this statement. I want him to leave it to the decision of the state and have the state make the choices at that point. If he says, listen, as of the 13th, nationwide bans lifted, it's at the discretion of the government of the state to decide when they want the ban to be lifted. And that's what I agree it should be. I believe that the decisions of this stuff should fall into state decisions, not just presidential. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, him being, you know, POTUS, yeah, he needs to have himself involved in these situations, stuff like that. But at the same time, I think, like, if he says, hey, as of the 13th, you know, the state has a decision to keep the ban as long as they want, and if the states decide, hey, starting April 30th, you know, or, well, we're closing down until April 30th, or hey, we're closing down to the 15th, or whatever. And that's just how I feel about it. I always felt that state needs to make the decision for the state, not the national government's decision on one spot over another. But that's my decision. I just want to hear your input.
Yeah. I have my snarky knee-jerk answer is we fought a civil war over this, and the states' rights lost. So, you know, and if you notice, the states that aren't having stay-at-home orders are the states who were on the losing goddamn side in the Civil War.
Right, you know, it's at the point where usually the South is like, hey, we're okay, it's sunny down
right?
here.
Yeah, that's my sarcastic answer. Please take it with a grain of salt. I don't mean it meanly or necessarily unkindly. I do think there's a responsibility of the president as a national figure to stand up and say, you know, this is a serious matter for a serious time, and it affects the entire country. And unless we're all on the same page, we can't all make it through this. Now, if the president wants to stand up and choose who gets to die because of his decision to leave the country open, then by all means. You know, I want a tally of every single person who dies because the state chose to stay open, and I want him charged for the murder of every single person who dies because he decided to leave it to the states to make that decision. And I want all of the governors of those states to also have those charges. Because to me, it's, you know, you gotta decide where the buck stops. Where does the buck stop? Does it stop with the state government or does it stop with the federal government? I think in a case like this, with a magnitude like this, it stops at both. And so, if that's the decision you're going to make as a president, if that's the decision you're going to make as a governor, you should be able to be held accountable for it by the public.
Yeah. No, you make a lot of sense. Like I said, I'm not going to disagree with you, one way or another. It's separate opinion.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But no, you do make a lot of sense. And I wouldn't so much convict them of the murders of the people for coronavirus. I wouldn't do that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, negligent homicide.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's like you said, people need to be held accountable for the decisions that other people make. Logically, though, you could say the same way. If they lift the ban, people should make the choice. And that's the biggest thing too. All these evolve around people's choices. If they know how bad this is, they need to stay indoors. And that's the biggest problem we still have is that people aren't following these decisions. So I mean, even Trump could go on and say, "Hey, listen, the ban is going on until June 30th."
Right.
But it's still up to us as a society to actually follow these orders. And a lot of people aren't doing it. I mean, nothing against the town I live in. I love the town I live in. But last Friday when it was nice weather and everything, fucking people were out bonfiring and having a good time and shit. And I'm like, guys, listen, just stay away from each other. We were given 15 days to isolate ourselves and just be home. And we could have maybe seen maybe a down or a decrease in the number, but we can't get that decrease because people aren't taking this shit seriously.
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean,
that's where I'd like to see the leadership, of the country saying, you need to take this seriously. Look how seriously we're taking it.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things too. Is you have people like the mayor of Chicago who don't seem to want to take it serious either. And that's the stuff too. It's one of those do as I say, not as I do situation.
Mm-hmm,
and a lot of people who, no disrespect to them, aren't really thinking logically, are looking at it that way. It's well, shit, if she can go out, so can I. Maybe it's not really that bad. And then that's when people fucking get sick.
For sure. I agree with that. That's a good take.
So we're going to dive back into this. We'll pick this up after the interview. I want to get Sophie on here and get this going because I know she is ready and we are at that time that I promised her. So we're going to pick up on that corona at the end of the interview. So we're going to take a quick pause for the cause, plug one of our sponsors, and we will be back with Oh My Sophie. This episode of This Freakin' Show is brought to you by BallWash.com. Now, it's no secret that the man's most prized possession also happens to be the most sensitive part of his body. Balls are prone to sweat, odor-causing bacteria, and irritation. Upgrade your balls game with quality products formulated to keep your skin healthy and fresh. Guys, that is where BallWash.com comes in. Go to BallWash.com right now, check out the variety of products they have, as well as kits and subscriptions they have available for you. And when you hit that checkout button and you go to pay for that order, make sure you use the promo code FREAKNET, that's FREAKNET, at checkout. It will save you 15% on your entire order. That's right, ballwash.com. When it comes to your sack, they got your back. Alright guys, it has been about a year and a half we've been trying to do this. I'm so excited that our I guess I could say it, the most positive thing about the coronavirus epidemic happening is that we finally find ourselves together. Oh my Sophie, you're finally here on the show.
I am. Silver lining, man.
Right? I mean, obviously this is probably the worst thing happening to our country, but hey, if it finally gets you on the show, I'm gonna take it.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I'm glad we finally found time to do this.
Well, wait for the interview to determine that. Because clearly you see how bad it was just getting you onto this recording. So we'll see how the rest of it goes.
I don't think it was that bad.
Yeah. On the plus side, we don't have our third host anymore here, sniffling, coughing, and completely being silent the entire time. So that's a plus.
Oh no!
Right? No, it's okay. He went on to right. Joey's gonna take over the sniffling in the background for us. Now he's on the bigger, better things with him not doing anything, but it's totally cool. We got I know, right? We got me and Cartoon Joe here, and that's the biggest thing that's important. Plus our guests that we have here. Sophie, real quick, I know I promoted a lot about who you were on our Facebook page, but for people who don't really know you yet, you want to give a brief description on exactly who you are?
Yeah, I'm a grown woman who plays dress up for a living.
There we go.
So, I build costumes. I teach social media marketing. My brand is Oh My Sophie, and I'm just living the dream, man, with the best community in the world.
Awesome. Now, one of the biggest things I want to know, I'm always curious about when I talk to any cosplayers, because I've had a few cosplayers on the show, and a lot of them, I guess, you really, you actually know, especially like Super KC, Night Mage, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always curious, where cosplayers get their names. Like, where do they get the idea for the names? Now, Sophie, I'm going to assume your name's Sophie. If it's not,
yeah.
Okay, cool. So, how did Oh My Sophie become your cosplaying name then? Like, I guess I get the Sophie part, but like the Oh My began in front of it.
Well, so for the first year and a half that I was doing professional cosplay, I actually was part of a duo with my best friend Sissa. We were Ultra Girls cosplay. And then 3 years ago now, one day she came and sat me down and was just like, "Hey, I'm going to be your biggest fan, but you're clearly more serious about this than I am, and I just want you to go and do this." She felt like she was holding me back. She had a full-time job. She was in the military, and she was, had to miss a lot of things. So she was like, "I just want to cheer you on. You're going to go and do it." So I had to rebrand everything because we weren't Ultra Girls anymore. And I just was brainstorming for days, and I couldn't think of anything. And then one day I was just like, "Oh my goodness, what am I going to do?" And I don't know why, that just stuck. I was like, "Oh my goodness, oh my Sophie."
Well, it's weird how things happen like that.
Yeah.
With my name, Travis T. A lot of people think that Travis T is my name's Travis, and then my last name has to start with a T, which is not. When I did pro wrestling, I was in pro wrestling school. I needed a gimmick. And a friend of mine said, "Why don't you just come out as Travis T?" Which in my head just didn't make any sense. Well, my last name starts with an S, not a T. He's like, "Yeah, but it's like the word travesty. So you just be Travis T." And I started thinking about it a lot more. I'm like, I kind of like it, And after I got done doing the wrestling thing, I was starting up this whole podcasting adventure with Joey, who's my stepbrother, my real life stepbrother, and he started out as Geekcast Joe, because Joe was in another podcast called Geekcast Live, and I was like, well, if he's Cartoon Joe, Geekcast Joe, whatever, I don't want to be just Travis. That's just boring, So I was like, I'll just bring back Travis T, I think it's different, it's slightly unique, and it gives me that kind of name, and it plays out the fact that it is my real name with a little bit added to it, and the same thing with Joe, where his name's really Joe, but just cartoon in front of it, and then obviously our previous host was Colin, but we just called him Awkward Colin because he was. If you listen to any episodes with him in it, there's always that one moment where he silenced the entire podcast.
That one moment when it's the whole time.
Yeah. So you say you started podcasting with somebody. Now, what year was that? And what was your first podcasting moment? What was your first convention? What was your first costume? And how did that roll? What did I say?
Podcasting.
I'm going to say that a lot. I'm not going to lie.
That's okay. I actually do have a podcast now, so it does work.
Oh, perfect.
See? Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Go. Just mute your mic and you sit back. Just stop.
Yeah. I'll just sit here and sniff.
So what was your first moment in the cosplaying world? Your first convention, and you're how did you get about creating your first costume, and how difficult actually was it? Because that isn't something that you're born with. You have to learn how to do this stuff, and obviously I've seen a lot of your costumes nowadays, and they're absolutely amazing. And I've actually watched a couple of your Twitch videos, and you working on a lot of weapons and armor and stuff like that. So it's, that's something I know I can never do. I know that for a fact. Clearly, I can't even do this, and I've been doing it for 5 years.
No, I always tell people that before cosplay, I couldn't glue 2 pieces of paper together, which isn't entirely true, but, man, YouTube's your best friend. You could do all the things through YouTube.
Okay. Well, what was your first costume?
So going back to what you said about getting started in conventions, my first convention I went to was about 5 years before I made my first costume. So, I went to A-Kon in Dallas, Texas. I'd never seen cosplay in real life. It was amazing. I'd only seen it on TV, and so for a few years I would return just to that show and I would buy costumes, and I was always looking online for costumes that I had seen there, and I could never find them to purchase, and so I started asking, and people were like, oh, I made it, and I was like, you, how? What? No. So in 14, late 2014, my first costume was actually Soren, which is the one I'm working on now again, the Planeswalker from Magic the Gathering.
Nice.
And, that's one of the reasons I decided, like, it's been 5 years, like, I'm gonna remake it because I want to, like, compare and contrast, like, them versus now because, you know, I thought it was real good, but, when I look back at those photos, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Do you ever think about going back and, like, you know, you're looking at your old costumes and, you know, maybe at that time in your career, like, you weren't really adapt to the creating concept, but you're like, you know, I'm going to go back and recreate that and make it better than it was. Have you ever done that or thought about doing something like that?
This is the first one I'm doing like that. So Soren is the very first one that I'm like, I'm gonna, like, the first photo I put up when it's all said and done and we do the shoot, I'm gonna put it side by side of the one from, we shot it in 2015, like January, and then,
Gotcha.
the one I did now, and that way I can kind of talk about, you know, like you said, so what you said earlier about, like, oh, I could never do that in a million years, I hear that at conventions from, like, everyone who comes to my booth, and I'm like, no, seriously, let me tell you, like, YouTube is your best friend. And with all the resources available now, like, you could do it, man. As long as you got the patience and you like crying, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Sounds like my kind of hobby.
Yeah, lots of tears.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, Sophie. I've been podcasting for about 5 years. I've had about 30 some odd guests on, and the situation we had with you getting on here, I do that every time. I could promise you, if I went to go cut out something for me to cosplay in, I'd fuck it up. Like, someone's like, oh, make me a tank top, and it end up looking like a nightgown. I know who I am.
That's fair.
Right? Like, I could talk, and I literally just told Joey this before we figured this whole Skype thing out. I was like, I just need somebody to do this for me. If I could find a producer just say action, and then I talk, and that's it, I'd be golden. I just like, for some reason, like when it comes to creativity, I could do it mentally. Like, especially like when pro wrestling, I mean, a lot of pro wrestling is like about gimmicks and stuff like that. I could create characters and stuff like that. I could do that all mentally and stuff. But when it comes to physically creating something, that I just cannot do. First off, I'm colorblind. So, I couldn't make anything really colorful to begin with. I could never work for Elton John. I could be honest. Right? Could not. He looked like a Three Stooges, like TV show, just black and white.
He'd probably love it.
He probably would, right? You know, just like the Mo haircut.
Yeah.
But it's one of those amazing things, and it always blows my mind, and that's why, like, I've always been a huge fan of yours, and I think I found you through Super Casey. When I had her on the show, we talked a lot about, like, some of the people she knew, and that's how, like, I kind of met Night Mage, and I believe I heard about Siren Ray from that, and she mentioned you as well. And I always did my best to, you know, support you guys as much as possible, you know, buying, like, your prints and everything, which I don't know how many of your guys' prints I bought, but I really need to hang them up somewhere.
I appreciate that, man. You have been awesome throughout the years. Like, I see your comments all the time.
Right, and I always try to do my best. And I gotta be honest with you, you're the only person that was never on the show that got plugged on my Facebook page so much. Like, I'm like, I know one day she's gonna be on, so I'm really just gonna fucking, like, sell the shit out of it.
Lay it out.
Oh yeah. And I gotta be honest with you too, like, you know, like when you sent me that link on Instagram to, like, you know, so I was able to share it onto my story.
Oh yeah.
I have never done anything like that before in my life, and I was freaked out that it worked. You post stuff on your social media, like, it seems like not even a daily thing, but almost like an hourly thing. Like, you are so involved in social media, and I recently just saw on your Facebook that you reached over 1,000 followers on your page. So 100,000 followers on your page. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Right? Like, I'm hoping to break maybe, I don't even know how many, what do we have, like 250? Joey, like, I mean,
no, that sounds
right,
about right.
It's like 250. Like, it's not like 250.
I'm saying that sounds like 200 more people than probably.
Right?
I can help. I have a bit of a home field advantage just because my second passion is social media marketing and helping creators grow their brands. And so while I can't, like, guarantee you're going to get X amount of followers. I can teach you the behaviors that get you in front of the right people.
Excellent. I would love for you to teach Joey to do that.
Heck yeah. Wait. I caught that at the end.
Right? But, I mean, between Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, I mean, you are, like, everyone, like, even your Patreon. You post so much on that, too, for your patrons and all that. I mean, like, it's amazing how much time you can find to do stuff like that in between creating all these costumes.
It's taken years to find a balance, and I would argue that I get off kilter a lot. But, like, community is super important to me because, like, I genuinely don't think I would be where I am today without, like, for example, like, Super Casey. Like, my community has given me so much and gotten me to where I am and the opportunities that I have, and so, like, I just like being present. Like, I like being able to respond to comments, and I like not just, like, putting my content out there so that I'm visible, but then I put it out there, people comment, and I can have conversations. And I don't know, I love social media. My parents put a phone in my hand when I was 10, and I've never looked back.
When you were 10?
When I was 10, I had one of those really big, like, Virgin mobile phones, because I was doing a sleepover at the school, and I'm an only child, so my parents are hyper overprotective. And so that day, they went and got me a giant Virgin mobile phone so that my mom could call me. It was the best.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm a middle child, so my parents didn't give a shit, so.
Oh, no.
I know, good for you, and you're loving parents. Fuck. Well, my parents are really cool. My mom's super supportive. My dad just doesn't want me to be an idiot, so.
That's fair. Yeah.
Really?
And between both our sets, I think there's like 7 of us. So, you know, if they lost a few, it was no great loss.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know, that's the thing that's dumb. It's like, well, I guess not dumb, but, so Joey's dad and my mom got married, and, from my mom there was 4 of us, and from, my stepdad there were 3 of them. And somehow, I still ended up being like the middle fucking child in all this.
Oh no. You just got put right in the middle.
Like, I can never win. And I kid you not, my dad telling me not to be stupid. I mean, in my graduation card when I got out of high school, congratulations, Travis. Don't be stupid. Love, Dad. I was more surprised about the love part, because my dad's like, he's in that older generation. Like my dad and mom had like a huge, and I don't want to get, this is actually your interview, but let's talk about me for a minute. My parents have such a large age gap. So like when I was born, you know, my mom was like 22, but my dad was 35. So he grew up in a different era. And, you know, he really didn't get a lot of the, like, I love yous and stuff like that. There was one day where I was on my phone with my dad. I was like 22 years old and stuff like that. And my dad's like, oh, Travis, I'll see you later. I'm like, okay, Dad, see ya. He's like, I love you. And I'm like, wait, what? In my head, I'm like, shit, does he have cancer? Is he dying? Like, what the fuck's going on? Cause now, I mean, I haven't heard that since I was like 10. Anyways.
Oh, no.
Right? Yeah. We'll get back to my problems later. I really want to focus on you before I get off kilter. Is that a good word, Joe? Kilter?
Yep. Perfect.
Thanks. Joe's my dictionary. So you go to a lot of conventions and everything. Which one has been your favorite since you started? Or like, is there one that you make sure no matter what you attend yearly? Like, how do you decide on the conventions you attend, and how far do you travel for them?
So, in terms of favorite convention, like yearly, like A-Kon in Dallas, Texas is where like I discovered the community, and I used to go every year. I went for about 7 years in a row. It's just my happy place. Like that's where I fell in love with cosplay. The last 3 years, I love being at conventions, but I like doing like the panels and being right in the community. So, I do professional guesting. I usually do 2 to 4 shows a month. So this break is kind of weird because I'm like, where do I go? So I haven't really gotten to do a leisure con just for fun in a long time. But I'm supposed to be going to YetiCon just for fun, which is in Canada this June. And I was so excited, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not going to happen. I can just tell.
Yeah. Was there ever a point in your career where like you went from asking to be part of a convention compared to being invited to a convention? Like, was there like that moment in your career where that happened, and it was kind of like one of those like epiphany kind of things, like, holy shit, this is going somewhere?
So I really think that not in terms of like my whole career. Like I definitely feel like I've worked hard, but there was a lot of luck involved for me getting started. Because there was a brand new convention in Kansas City called Kansas City Comic Con, and my first year doing it like quote unquote professionally, so I was doing like little things here in town, like I was going to comic book shops and getting paid to be there, whatever it may have been. But out of like, I hadn't even thought about guesting at a show, and this show reached out to me and invited me. So I was fortunate to get that from like the get-go. I do, if there's, even today, like, even though I have, like, companies and brands, like, that run shows, like, at the GalaxyCon, Wizard World, and that I work with, and a lot of independent shows, if there's a show that I really want to do that has not reached out to me, I still send out media kits. I feel like there's, like, this misconception that at some point you just start getting invited 100% of the time, and you don't have to, like, you know, but if you enjoy guesting, like, that's my bread and butter, is getting to be with the people. Being on Instagram is cool, but getting to hang out with you face to face is, like, what it's about, right? Mm-hmm. So, I will still actively seek shows. Like, at the beginning of the year, I take a look at my calendar for what I have booked. I decide what weekends are open, and then I will, like, pursue shows that I really like.
I gotcha. Now, normal conventions, and I'm not huge into conventions as much as I would want to be, but conventions are usually about 3 days, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe sometimes 4?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're traveling to these conventions, you always plan to bring, like, a different costume for every day. Is that, like, the norm?
Yeah, that's very, like standard. Like, this industry hasn't been around long enough for there to be really, like, a standard, but we're kind of starting to, like, notice the trend now. Like, shows like you, they've always liked you to have a different costume for all 3 days. They also like, at least at the bare minimum, your Saturday cosplay to be something that you handmade, unless you're there as, like, a personality or a model, which cosplay guests can be from so many different, like, avenues, but typically they want you to have one day where it's a costume you made yourself at least. But if you come onto the show floor 2 days in a row in the same costume and there's not a reason, like there wasn't a malfunction or an emergency, then that can look real bad on you.
I gotcha. Yeah, because I remember, like, I was talking, I think it was Night Mage, when I was talking to him about the costumes he creates. He says, if I remember it correctly, because it's been a while since I talked to him, but he almost has, like, a storage unit full of costumes that he's created throughout his entire career. Is there, now, when you create something, is there a time where you'll rewear it, or is it almost like a one and done? Like, I built this, I love it, but now it's going to be kind of pushed off to the side for something new. I mean, cause I don't know how long it takes cosplayers to create costumes. I've had, like, some say, like, I could do something in 48 hours. I could do something in 4 months. But if something takes 4 months, like, is it really hard to, to just wear it once and just brush it off? Because, it seems like that would be something you want to wear constantly.
Yeah, so I call myself a speed builder, because when I start a costume, there's a certain span of time before I'm bored and already thinking about my next project. So I have to, like, rock out a costume as fast as I can to the best of my ability. Otherwise, I just have so many unfinished projects, because my brain, I just have so many things I want to cosplay, man. So I try not to wear them just once. I used to be real notorious for that. My brain would move so fast that I'd build something, spend the money to make it, and then wear it one day, and then that was it, and it would just, like, collect dust. Because I also don't sell my costumes, or I didn't used to. But one of my focuses over the last 6 months and moving forward is kind of slowing down, because I'm trying to move into the competitive space a little bit. So I'm taking a little bit more time with my costumes, and I'm slowing down, which means I'm re-wearing them.
Oh, wow,
which is
okay.
nice.
Awesome. When you go to these conventions and you're wearing these costumes you create, do you find yourself just, like, hey, I'm just Oh My Sophii and here's my costume, or do you become the character that the costume is? Because I've been to C2E2 a couple of times, and it's probably one of my favorite. The only one compared to it is Indie PopCon. Indie Pop, nothing wrong with Indie PopCon, but compared to C2E2, it's almost no comparison. So I've met people who, I guess Super Casey's kind of that way. Like, she's Super Casey, but she's cosplaying, Superwoman, Supergirl, Squirrel Girl, and stuff like that. Scarecrow is probably one of my favorite, costumes she created.
I'm buying that off of her. We've been talking about that.
I mean, she did such good work, and even like the Beauty and the Beast thing she did with Night Mage. But she doesn't become that character. But I've met people who do become the characters. I don't know any names off the top of my head. I wish I did. But I mean, how does that work for you? Like, do you just like, hey, I'm on my Sophie and here's my Spider-Gwen, or do you become Spider-Gwen?
There are times when I will like get into character for something, like if I'm on stage doing something, or especially if there's like kids and whatnot. But for the most part, I don't, mainly because I'm an awful actress. That's why all my cosplay music videos have music over them.
How is it getting on stage? I mean, like, was it nerve-wracking the first time, or are you like a very like outgoing person where it didn't bother you being in front of everyone and the whole focus is on you? So
that's another, when I talk to people and they're like, oh, I couldn't do this. One of the stories I tell them is how like before cosplay, so I've always been like, I'm pretty extroverted, but before cosplay I was wildly insecure, and if you even made me stand in front of 5 people, I would literally black out. Like, I did a public speaking class in college and I literally blacked out. That was just the most fearful thing in the world to me, but cosplay helped me like conquer that, because the first time I ever got asked to do a panel was with Allie Smith, who runs KC Cosplay and Photography. She's incredible. Her and her husband also own Little Apple Comic Con. But she invited me onto a panel and I was about to have like a panic attack backstage, but I like took a minute in my head. I was like, if I want to do this, then I have to just do it. And it was literally like the hardest thing I've ever done, getting on stage and talking to people at that time. But every time it got easier and it got easier. And I had like an epiphany moment, because everything moves so fast. I do so much stuff that time's just kind of speeding by. And last summer I was at Tokyo and Tulsa, which is one of the, hands down, I super recommend that show. One of the best shows I've ever been a part of. Just the passion and love. But at the end, they handed us the mic on stage to this huge crowd and had us like do like just say whatever about the show, which usually I've got an idea ahead of time of what I'm going to say when I get on stage. I'm never like put on the spot, you know? Yeah. And I was very put on the spot and exposed, but I didn't even think about it. I was just like talking to the crowd, and we were like yelling together and having a great time. And I remember stepping off that stage and like flashing back 5 years and being like, wow, like just the determination to do this, because I so badly wanted to be able to, and like here I am. And so I always tell people, like, it's scary and anxiety's a real thing, but if you want it, just try it, man. It's worth trying. If you do it 4 times and you hate it every time, then don't do it. But if it's something you think you want to pursue, getting on stage and being confident in that manner and public speaking, I super recommend it.
Gotcha. Nice. I'm going to ask you the one question that everyone hates me asking, but I got to do it. Tell me which costume's your favorite.
Oh, so my answer to this every time is whichever one I just made. Because what I do is I make a costume and I'm like, oh my gosh, 10 out of 10, best costume ever. And then I start on my next costume, and by the time I finish that one, like, I can see all the imperfections that in my last costume that I fixed in the new one, and then I'm like, oh, I hate that one now. This one's my favorite. So, until about 2 days ago, it was Vigar. But now Soren is looking real fresh, so it's already Soren.
God. You know, every time I get that, every time I ask that question, I always get the same, like, oh, I can't pick that. I can't answer that. I think Kitsukami was probably the only one that could.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely the number one question. But I don't mind it, because mine changes all the time, so no one's going to get the same answer.
Right. I feel special, I'm not going to lie.
That's the answer just for you.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously being a cosplayer, one of the biggest things outside of social media that you're involved in are these conventions and everything, and obviously that's not happening currently with this whole pandemic going on. So, I know you mentioned, like, you know, you do have the free time now because of that, but how have you been adapting to this? And like, I mean, like, I think, Joey used the right term a couple weeks ago, but I can't remember what, Joey, do you remember the word you used about being, stuck at home? No. And it's in the title of the podcast too. Anyways.
Sorry.
Yeah, but trapped. Yeah, there was another word. It's basically trapped. How have you been dealing with feeling trapped, being at home, knowing that, you know, hey, you know, I got no convention to get ready for this weekend and I got nowhere to go, you know, like, how have you been adapting with that?
So it was, for the first few days, I had a little bit of a panic. Like, I was in Myrtle Beach when they canceled Planet Comic-Con, which was my next show. And then I got home and a few other shows and events started canceling. And so I did have a moment of panic because my whole, like, business structure in that environment is set up for, like, I'm preparing for the next show. I finish that show and then I'm preparing for the next show. I'm building for it. I'm planning my programming. Wise YouTuber named Pokenate once talked to me about how you've got to be able to adapt, especially in the digital age. So I immediately game planned, like, this may not be the first time this happened. It may happen a lot. What should I do? So now I'm filling as much free time I can as possible with things like this. So, like, that's why I was saying, like, you literally reached out to me at the perfect time because I just decided to switch gears to, like, I need to focus on making time for the things that I just couldn't find time for before, like podcasts and a lot more live streams and even more content and more diverse, like, I'm doing a lot of YouTube videos. Like, everyone is online right now, so if I want to connect with my audience, I have to be as hyper digital as possible.
I gotcha. The term was stir crazy. So
stir crazy?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't think that was it.
Joey,
yeah,
I'm not...
Oh, sorry.
Sophie. No, please. You know what? I have no problem interrupting Joey every chance I get, but the one thing I'm not going to do is interrupt my guest. So please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I'm hyper extroverted, and so, like, the first few days I was like, this is cool, I'll get so much done. And now we're like 3 or 4 weeks into this, and I'm just like, I like literally need people to, like, recharge. Like, I have my husband and stuff, but, like, our friend group, like, we have such a tight knit squad. And we haven't been able to see them or hang out, and I haven't been able to go to conventions, so stir crazy is 100% the word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I know Joey, when he talked about it, I mean, it's been bothering him a lot. For me, not so much. I mean, my ass groove on my couch is the same as it's ever been, and,
maybe
you know,
as comfy as ever.
Right? I mean, I have no problem. Like, I'm so, like, and it's not because I'm an introvert. I just like my time.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially, like, one of the things, I don't want to say that I'm always constantly busy. I'm not bragging about it, but I mean, like, between, you know, this podcast, the other podcast, building this Freakin Studios whole thing that we have going on, like, I always try to keep myself busy. And me and Joey are trying to work on a book and stuff together, and I'm trying to put notes together for that. So.
That's awesome.
Right, yeah, so it's me putting my time into this passion, and at the same time, I'm broke as fuck, so it's not like I can really go out and spend money anyways, so it's like a win-win. I don't have to see people, I could just work on me, I don't have to spend money, but I guess being a podcaster and, aspiring YouTuber, because apparently I want to jump into the, you know, the popular shit like 10 years later, but whatever.
I feel that, man.
Right? Like, I'm sitting there, like, telling, like, Joey and, like, the other guys who do, like, a podcast in the Freakin Studios, like, oh, we should create YouTube videos. And, like, you sit there thinking, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be awesome, but it's like, damn, this shit was, like, important, like, 8-9 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I know there's gonna be a wave that comes back.
Oh, it's happening right now. That's
right.
One of the reasons I really wanted to start focusing on that this year, because the wave is now.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, this freaking show, Freakin Studios, like, this is our moment to become the next Good Mythical Morning or Try Guys, you know? The next Oh My Sophie, but not as awesome, because clearly I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But
I don't know. I think you should try to make some of the, like, mimic some of my costumes so we can do side by side. That would be fun.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, if I was to mimic one of your costumes, you'd block me on social media and ask me to take this down, like, you bastardized everything I did in my life.
No, I would love it.
You know, Super Casey told me I need to cosplay too, and I just, like, and that was another thing that we kind of talked about a little bit, and we got into, like, the conversation about gender bending.
Yeah.
Well, real quick before I tell my story, how do you feel about gender bending? Do you try to focus a lot on female characters, or do you also like to gender bend and do male characters as well?
I would say 8 out of 10 of my costumes are gender bends, and I don't know what it is about, like, I don't know, it's just the design. I think part of it is, like, I really like designing original versions of characters. That's been something I've been passionate about since the very beginning. But the community has only recently really started, like, accepting and being interested in that. So I love taking male characters like Soren and, like, making them female, like gender bending them myself, designing it, because then it feels not only like I'm making a costume, but like that it is more mine than it is when it's just cosplay. Like I love doing screen accurate for sure, don't get me wrong, but there's something extra special when it's like your flair on it and people still recognize the character. Like that's pretty.
Yeah, it's your own flair. It's that Sophie brand over anything, and that's really cool. And I think that's one of the best things when it comes to cosplaying. Is like I'm not a huge fan of a cosplayer whose costume looks exactly like who they're portraying, but something different. I think that's where gender bending becomes one of the cool concepts. Again, I want to go back to Super Casey's Scarecrow. It's probably one of the coolest gender bending that like I've really actually like physically seen. You know, because like, and I know how much work she puts into it. I know how much she hates that Night Mage could do the same thing she does in like a quarter of the time. But it's really cool that stuff did that. And like when I was talking to her about it, like when I talk about, you know, cosplaying, like if I ever was to cosplay, like when I do Halloween, my costume's the same thing every year. I'm Toby Keith. And the only reason I'm Toby Keith is because I have a hat, a bandana, and a jean jacket. And that's all I do. I already wear boots all the time. And jeans. I live in the country. All I need is to put my jean jacket on, put a bandana on, throw a cowboy hat, and one more necklace, and I can be Toby Keith. I mean, back when I was thinner, I could have pulled off Zach Brown. I just, you know, take the cowboy hat off and put a beanie cap on. Any overweight country singer I could do. I'm at the point where I'm almost Colt Fordish, but whatever. So when I was thinking cosplaying, I was like, really, I could do like Hagrid because, you know, I'm 6'2", 6'2.5". I'm just south of 400 pounds. Oh yeah, my weight. That's what I wanted to talk to you about too. Fuck. But I'll get into that in a minute. Like for me, it's like always like, you know, it's a big guy thing. It's like Hagrid or, Chewbacca, cool. Stuff like that. But she says, no, when it comes to cosplay, you could be anything. So I was like, I think if I was to ever cosplay, I want to be Peter Dinklage from, Infinity Wars.
Yes. 10 out of 10. Right? I support this.
Right. So I think if C2E2 2021, if I am to cosplay, I'll try to figure it out. I'll have to start now to make sure I do it right. I just have to try to be a giant dwarf with, stone hands. So
there are like 3 whole tutorials just for making every part of Hagrid. And I know there's probably hundreds more. We can do it, man.
Right. And I live like 40 minutes away from where C2E2 is, so I don't have to travel with many costumes. I can just go home, put on new costumes, show up there. I mean, who knows? Maybe by that day, Freakin Studios will have its own booth and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure I could just buy like foam Hulk hands for, Dinklage's, little
don't paint them yellow.
Dinklage, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I said Hagrid. Hell yeah.
But no, Hagrid too. I mean, it's like, I think starting out to find my comfort zone, because I'm not a big in-person kind of guy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, between you and me, I don't think Super Casey listens to the show, so I can say this with confidence. I spoke to Super Casey. She's been on my show twice. I've messaged back and forth with her. We have the dick butt thing going. But when I met her in person, I was completely fucking nervous. And, it wasn't because like, it wasn't like I was like starstruck because getting to know her, I know she's a person just like me. But the entire time, like, I was trying to talk to her, like, all these people kept coming up to her. And every time, like, somebody would come up to her, I'd be like, fuck, you know, I'm interrupting this, you know, I'm taking away her time from, you know, these times with everyone else. So it kind of drew me back into this, like, maybe I should just not worry about this and, you know, just like say bye. And so I felt really bad about like kind of like cutting our conversation short and just leaving and shit like that. But it just felt like I was pulling away from like her fans who were there to talk to her. I don't know if maybe she felt that way. I'm guessing not, but that's just how my mind works is like, like if I go up and like, I think Siren Ray was supposed to be at C2E2 and I was going to talk to her too. I think you were supposed to be at C2E2 and I was supposed to talk to you, but you left like a day early or you left early on Sunday or something like that.
Yeah. Last year we left super early.
Yeah, so like it's just like how I work. Like I can sit here and have a conversation with you and like everything's fine and I can tell you about how much my dad doesn't want me to be dumb. But like if we're like in person with each other, like I'd be so self-conscious about saying something dumb to where like I get that facial expression like this is why no one wants to talk to me.
No.
Or like I'm interrupting something else going on, regardless if like, regardless if I'm also a fan, they're trying to talk to you. If somebody else comes up and like, crap, I'm going to step away so they can have their time. But that's just who I am. But it's trying to like get over that fear. Cause I know eventually, like, in order to do what I'm doing, I'm going to have social interactions with people. I went to a wrestling show a couple months ago and the guy sitting behind me was actually a fan of the podcast.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and he started talking to me, but, you know, cause I have this podcast, but I have another podcast where we talk about pro wrestling. And he's like, hey, aren't you Travesty? And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, from the podcast. I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, dude, me and my daughters listen to your show all the time. I'm like, God damn, I wouldn't let your daughters listen to this show. But, cause I cuss a lot. It's what it is. But he's like, no, really like your show. You're really funny and everything. I was like, yeah, you know, this is Dizzle J, who's my co-host. He's like, oh man, that's awesome. And, it was really, I mean, having that moment's really cool. But I was able to kind of talk with him a little bit, but it wasn't so much. I guess like if people come up to me, I'm okay. But if I go up to other people, it feels like I'm wasting their time, you know?
Is it because of the booth thing where you talk, is there a booth barrier? Or is it even people just like standing next to you or in front of you?
The booth could play a factor in it, but when I was talking to Super Casey, she was outside the booth. So she was like right there. I think a lot of it has to do too is like, because like a lot of people that came up to her were like kids and, I didn't want to be a bad guy to the kids by saying like, hey Wendy, you know, take your turn, you know, shit, you know,
Hurry up, Wendy.
Right? Yeah. So, but I guess there's always that thing like maybe it is the booth thing too. Like maybe like, you know, I see that there's a pecking order in life and like even though I'm a creator, you guys are a creator, but I'm down here and you guys are up here. So I think like maybe subconsciously there's that too. But I don't know, I guess I'd have to like talk to her in person again and see how it goes. I really don't know.
That booth barrier is a very real thing.
Is it really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, fun fact, in 2016, the very first time I ever went to C2E2, I actually took a picture with like Super Casey, Night Mage, and a bunch of other people. They were just all walking around in their superhero costumes. I think she was Scarlet Witch and Night Mage was Vision, and there were a bunch of other people there. And we, like me and Awkward Colin went, and we took a group picture with all of them. But I didn't know that was Super Casey at that moment until we had her on the podcast. I was like, oh shit, I know who this is. She's in the photo that we took, and the Night Mage was in there too and everything. So we had like a brief conversation there too, where I think she just kind of treated me as like a fan. But then I think like it all changed, like was like, well now I was the host of a podcast you're interviewing on, and now, and I guess another way too is like, I guess Travisty's more of a character. I don't want to talk about myself. Fuck this. We're not talking about me.
No, you're good.
We talk way too much about me. Tell me about your podcast. You said you had one.
Oh, yeah. So, me and April Gloria started a podcast in January. We do it once a month. It's called Hot Glue and Bobby Pins. And we just talk real candidly about, life as like professional creators, being women online, attending conventions, like issues, like about like issues in our community as well as just like interesting things that are going on in our community. And, we just talk really candidly about it. We wanted to see more of that in our community because there needs to be more like candid conversation, open conversation. Like one of our most popular episodes of the whole 3 that we have, was about guesting at shows because no one really, in the grand scheme of things, there's not many people being super honest about what your contracts look like, your media kit, what kind of money you're making, how you go about that. And so, our podcast is just kind of focused around just being real about what we do, where we're going, and what happens to us and sharing that information with other people in our realm.
Where can people find your podcast at?
Everywhere, I think. Spotify, Apple, and Podbean. Is that a thing? I think that's a thing.
Podbean. Yeah.
Yeah, that place. Yeah.
I've also found it here on YouTube.
Oh, yes. I have it on my YouTube channel. I have 2 episodes on there. April might have more on hers. I need to get the newest episode up on there, actually. But yeah, it's just us rambling about life in cosplay.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I'm going to let you plug all your stuff. There's a movie out there called The Princess Bride.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on it? what kind of movie? I mean, is it a good movie? Do you like the movie? Do you think it's a cult classic? Or do you agree with me where it's garbage?
I feel bad because I feel really indifferent about it. Like, I've seen it and it's cool, but I wouldn't put it this way, when you see people, there's once a year where there's a bubble where everyone's like, oh my gosh, we're all watching Princess Bride. It pops up again, and every time of year that comes around, I'm like, I would rather watch anything else. To be blatantly honest.
Cause it sucks.
I just don't get it. I don't hate it, but I just don't get how it became a cult classic. But then again, I can't really talk because I have a secret Twilight shrine, so I'm not allowed to speak about movies.
It's okay. I love Twilight, and I hate Princess Brides. So.
Team Edward. I'm just saying.
Oh, actually, I'm Team Billy Black. So.
Okay, that's fair. That's a good team. But let's remember that our Pats is now our Batman.
Yeah.
Oh no! Do you hate it?
I'm not a big DC guy to begin with.
Okay.
But, I mean, it can't be worse than Ben Affleck. I mean,
yes.
I mean, Val Kilmer was Batman at one point. George Clooney was fucking Batman at one point. So, there's really a certain point where, anyone could fucking be Batman at some point.
Yes. Although
everyone should be Batman at some point.
Yeah, just
all take turns.
I want to be Batman.
C2E2 2021, Travesty will be Batman.
Perfect.
Alright, I'll just have to get in shape. That's what I wanted to talk about. Holy shit, I keep forgetting about my weight. It's gonna make sense here in a minute, I promise. Yeah. One of the biggest reasons I became such a fan of yours was not even the cosplay stuff, but, you were doing the keto diet around the same time I started.
Yeah.
How did you decide to start doing it? And what success did you find with it?
Oh, well, I'm permanent keto. I've been keto for 2.5 years.
Awesome.
And I had hypothyroidism. I'd been on pills for that for 10 years. I was super addicted to sugar, those full throttle energy drinks. I was drinking 2 or 3 a day. And I had crazy anxiety and I had no answers for myself. I was just well, this is just the way I'm going to be. And my weight would fluctuate wildly. I'd be in the 130s and then I'd be in the 180s within months. It would go back because of the hypothyroidism. And I just saw no way out for myself. So I was actually thinking about quitting cosplay, because I hated seeing photos of myself. There was one convention where I got tagged in a bunch of photos and I just laid in bed and cried that night. I was so unhappy because I didn't recognize myself. And it was a wild time in my head. But the next weekend went to a different convention with April. We were a guest at Wizard World, Oklahoma City together. And she, in the morning, was putting butter in her coffee. And I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, oh, keto. And she told me all about it. Yeah. And literally the next week, that Monday, I started it. Within 3 months, I was off of my thyroid pills. My doctor took me off of them. My thyroid has been stable ever since. My anxiety all but went away. I mean, I still have anxiety attacks here and there like people do, but not like it used to be. I'm not addicted to sugar anymore. Sugar is a treat. I have cheat days and I get to have a little bit of sugar, but usually I choose fries because I do miss French fries. But for me, I know keto gets a lot of, you're not supposed to talk about keto because it annoys people, but the success that I found with it personally and other people who've shared their stories with me, I'm just the biggest fan of a ketosis diet.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I know a lot of people don't like keto just because they think they don't really know it.
Yeah.
All they hear is oh, so what? You just think you eat bacon and eggs and eat burgers without buns and you'll be? It's it's not that. I mean, I think it's called dirty keto. When you go to McDonald's and order a burger without a bun and ketchup and stuff like that. It's a concept of keto, but that's not what keto really is. The whole focus on keto is just it's using good fats and everything.
Yeah.
Like avocados and stuff. I loved keto. I regret not being on it. I know eventually I gotta get back on it because when I started it in January 2018, I think it was. So from January of 2018 to May of 2018, I lost 60 pounds and I was at 445 at the end of 2017. And there was a photo taken of me, I think it was around 4th of July, Labor Day, one of those. I was at my aunt's house and I looked like somebody drugged me out of the fucking river. I was so bloated and gross looking.
Oh no.
And I know, I never saw a photo as bad as I did then. And I just like, holy shit. And luckily I have a grandmother that loves me enough to point it out to me too. But I was like, you know what? There's something that needs to change. So I was trying to find a diet that worked, and I was trying every fucking diet. You know, like I tried Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem. I even tried the military diet, which almost made me pass out at work one day. So I wouldn't recommend doing that one.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I found the keto one, and actually, Jackie, who I did an entire keto series back in February of last year. I had her on, and she's a huge keto person. She's a Prove It salesman, and she has this whole Facebook page, Alabama Mama. I really should know it, and I feel bad. Jackie, I apologize if you hear this and I get it wrong. But I talked to her more about keto, and she gave me all the information about it, and it made me work. I went from 435 at the end of December because I tried to lose weight through all these other diets, and it only got me down like 10 pounds. But I went from 435 to 370 in 5 months. Yeah. And it was incredible. And all of a sudden, the girl I was seeing at the time broke up with me, and my life just went to shit in a weird way. Yeah, it was weird. And I a lot of people probably don't agree with me, but a lot of dieting is mental too. You need to be in the mindset to make it work. And I started talking to her in December. We started dating in February, and I was just so fucking happy. And she kind of kept me in check. You know, she made me like keto brownies because I was missing like brownies. She made me these keto lemon bars, which were absolutely amazing. The brownies sucked. But the lemon bars were phenomenal, and I love lemon. Lemon and cherry, my two favorite flavors in the world. So she made me these lemon bars, and they're phenomenal. But then like when we broke up, it was a shitty way. She did it over the phone, which was hot fucking garbage. And a text, no doubt. Trashy.
No.
But it's that whole big bullshit. It's like, oh, I'm not ready to date, but she started dating someone else briefly after. So it is what it is. But like, I never got over that. And then when I finally did get over it, I wanted to get back into keto. I just really didn't get my mind into it because other shit went on. But I was telling Joey, when we're done recording and all that stuff, at the end, I have an idea for him. And I'm going to bring you in on it later too, because I think you might be able to help. Yeah, right. A little behind the scenes stuff for people to be like, oh shit, what's happening? That's how you draw people in. See, that's what I do. But I mean, other than Jackie, I mean, you posted a lot of stuff on keto too that I kind of followed, and like, it was like really inspiring for me then. And that was one of the things I always want to talk about you too, is like, you know, not only did, you know, you really bring a lot of joy from like your cosplaying and stuff like that, but you really motivated me doing, through the keto stuff. So I do appreciate it, and thank you for that. Yeah,
no, you're welcome. I am, like I said, such a fan of it. It definitely changed. Like you said about that photo, like that moment where you, like, that's exactly how that night was for me when I saw all those photos. Like, not even like necessarily like how I looked, but it was just like, this is what I've done to my body. You know, I want to be healthy. Like, I'm not 16 anymore. I need to think about like my health and where I'm going. Mm-hmm. So it just, I'm a super fan. It changed my life. Also, Walmart, as of today, is selling keto ice cream, and now my life is even better.
I'll have to check that out. Well, where can our listeners find you, not only on social media, but where they can support you and everything that you do?
So on socials, I'm on all of them that I can possibly be on. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Vero, Oh My Sophie, with 2 I's, no E. I do have an OnlyFans, which is actually my website, or sorry, a Patreon, which is my website, so it's ohmysophie.com, because it's a support platform, but it's also, I just treat it like a website, and I do a lot of build blogs and announcements on there. And then I do have an OnlyFans if you're really only interested in like some of the sexier content. I've got that as well. And then I'm also on YouTube and Twitch.
Awesome. Well, Sophie, I know we talked about this being like 20 to 30 minutes, but I kept it for an hour. And,
okay.
I'm glad, well, I'm glad it's okay. I know Joe's hating it right now because, Joe likes to keep these brief and get away. No, I'm just kidding. Joey loves it.
I like that giggle.
Right? He's like, haha, you have no idea. But no, I do appreciate you sitting down and talking with us, and I hope we're able to do this again soon because I do have a lot. I enjoy talking to you, and I think there's a couple more things that I really haven't dove into that I really would like to. So hopefully we get you back on and we can talk about those things.
Yeah, I would love that. This was a lot of fun for realsies.
Excellent.
I had a blast.
I appreciate that, guys. We're going to plug one of our sponsors, and then we'll be back to close out the show.
This Freakin' Show is brought to you by Audible.com. If you like to read as much as I do, if you enjoy a good book, head on over to audibletrial.com/freaknet. Maybe you don't like to read. Maybe you like to have things read to you. Head on over to audibletrial.com/freaknet and you will get a 30-day free trial plus your first credit toward a free book. I recommend during this time of extended staying at home to pick something longer, something really good, maybe something by Stephen King. Maybe check out The Stand or It or any of the Dark Tower books. Anything in that category, you're going to find something that's at least 30 to 40 hours long, which is going to get you through a whole week of listening. So head on over to audibletrial.com/freaknet today.
It's always fun to be able to sit down and talk to cosplayers, man. I love that.
She was really, really great too.
Right? Yeah, I just felt bad that I kept pulling shit into my life. Like, hey, let's talk about me for a second. I realize I'm very self-centered when it comes to life. But no, it was really cool. I'm glad that we finally had the opportunity to talk to her and get to know more about her. And I'm really excited to find the opportunity to get her back on the show because I know there's so much more to Sophie than what we just discussed, and I really want to dive more into that. So, all right, let's wrap up this game of my Corona real quick because I want to get the.
Oh yeah.
Oh geez,
I forgot about that completely.
Oh, trust me, I almost did too. But no, I only got two more left. So there was a statement made that says like the world's gonna rise above the current situation we're in, but it's never gonna be the same. As in, we're going to get past this pandemic, but we're never going to get past what it did to us. And I want to kind of get your feelings on that.
I think, man, that's a really interesting statement. I do think that some things are going to be changed for good. Just because, I mean, it's sort of like with 9/11, right? For our generation, our whole world became about that. I think for the next generation, it's kind of going to be the same way. And especially how many people are going to grow up without grandparents because of this, without aunts and uncles because of this, without some of the greatest music people. I don't know if you saw, John Prine was just announced having died.
Yeah.
While we were interviewing Sophie. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff that's never going to be the same again. In other ways, I think we'll recover. Human beings are extremely resilient. So I really like what Mark Cuban's been saying. America 1.0 is over, but America 2.0 is coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. Like, it's one of the things, like, I think by the end of all of this, like, we're able to kind of go back and live life, how we were. But there's always going to be that moment that, like, just because it's gone now doesn't mean it's gone forever. I think people are going to be more cautious about, how they handle, like, basic hygiene, like washing hands and shit like that. And, being more careful on like how they interact with things. I don't think we're going to walk around with latex gloves on for the rest of our lives, but no. I think people are definitely going to be more cautious. I don't think this is the next Pearl Harbor or the next 9/11, but I mean, there's nothing that says that it's not a very similar feeling, like people are paranoid, people are freaked out, but with good reason, I mean, people are dying, people are getting sick, not just here, not just China, but everywhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And we've been, in some ways we've been very lucky, here in the Chicago area because, we responded quickly and for the most part appropriately. Mm-hmm. I mean, last week we were like number 6 in the country for worst hit. And, this week we're almost in the bottom of the top 10. We're flattening the curve faster than New York did, faster than San Francisco, you know. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting time, you know.
Yeah. It's going to be one of the things like, you know, like when will this kind of like settle off? Like what day is that going to be?
Right.
The last one I have, well, what do you want to do? So as far as that statement goes, where nothing's going to be, you know, the same again, light, premiere, extra.
I would say, is premiere the middle one?
Yeah, premiere.
Yeah, premiere. I would say premiere.
Okay.
I think that's a pretty average statement.
Cool. All right, last one I have here is it's about the stimulus checks. There was an article that stated that certain people aren't going to get stimulus checks, and basically it just focuses on the people who don't file taxes. They gave a list of Social Security recipients, college students, and illegal immigrants. Probably won't be receiving these stimulus checks. I just want your opinion on that.
Yeah, I think that's a bummer because those are the people who I think need it the most. You know, and they're the people who spend, I mean, they don't spend the most money, but they spend, at the most places. You know what I mean? So I don't know, that's rough. And it's a hard thing to figure out, right? Like, on the one hand, you don't want to give it to people who aren't contributing to the system, but what does it mean to contribute to the system? So I don't know. I think I'm going to say light on this one.
It's a good thing to what they're trying to do. Like, it's no doubt, I mean, people need relief, and this is one of the best ways to help it out. I think to say that all college kids not getting it, isn't like the right way of going about it. I mean, I think it's focusing really on what you filed in either 2018 or 2019. Now, I think a kid who's paying his way through college, who has his own apartment, buys his own food and stuff like that, definitely deserves, this. If it's a kid who's in his freshman year, who's, you know, staying in the dorms, you know, his parents send him packages, and during the summer he goes back to live at home, I really don't think he needs it. I think realistically, if your parents still write you off, maybe you don't need that $1,200. Now, it could be your parents' decision to give you the $500 that they get from you, but I think realistically, like my thought is if you're not self-reliant or you don't rely on yourself to make a life for yourself, I don't think you really need it.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean that's I don't totally disagree with that. There's parts of me, you know, some parents use finances as a way to abuse their kids. And so a kid might be more or less self-reliant, but because of the way the tax system's set up, you know, they're not going to get the stimulus check because they don't have any real control over their money, you know.
Yeah.
And it would be good to be able to, but that's such a much bigger issue that it can't be answered as quickly as it needs to be for this to go out, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I know they're trying to do the best. I think I read somewhere like it's supposed to be, I think the checks are going to be issued how you get your tax return.
Right.
So if it's direct deposit, if it's through mail or whatever, and it's supposed to be within the next couple of weeks, either the second or third week of April.
Right.
I do direct deposit, so if everything goes to plan, I should get mine next week.
Same.
And I know, like, you know, it's all based on what you make and everything. Like, I know, like, it's $1,200, but it decreases if it's 75 or above for single, or 150 and above for married and all this other stuff.
Right.
I know a lot of people were talking about the issues with, like, unemployment, about how, like, you know, like how the hell can you get an extra $600 for unemployment, blah, blah, you know, like, you know, how can people do that? But, you know, people aren't getting hazard pay for, you know, working during the pandemic, which, right. I agree 100%. There should be a hazard pay. There should be, there should be additional pay to essential employees. Now, that falls on the business, not the government. I don't think government can mandate a pay increase. I think that's up to the discretion of the business. And if the business doesn't do that, well, that's on them, and that's kind of shitty.
Right.
You know, and
well, it's not like you can't get unemployment if you quit.
No, you can't.
You know.
No,
so there's no incentive to quit.
Yeah, the only way you get the unemployment is if you're off for the 2-week quarantine because you were infected with something, or your job is deemed non-essential and shuts down. Right. And a friend of mine posted on Facebook about, you know, the $600 increase for unemployment, but not, you know, a boost in pay for the essential employees, which is two different arguments. The unemployment's you know, government, and the pay raise for non-essential is all businesses, that's discretion of the business. But right. I don't know if she knows anything about unemployment. I'm not saying she doesn't, but I was on unemployment recently. If I could and this is how I described it to her, and I hope I got it right. If not, I'm an idiot and, fuck me for trying. But just the maximum payout for unemployment in Illinois is $400 a week. And I made like $50,000 a year. So if you get a boost in pay of $600, that puts you at $1,000 a week. That gives you $52,000 a year. So it kind of puts me about where I was at anyways. I'd be getting a normal paycheck.
Right.
But the thing is, that all gets adjusted. Now, if somebody, let's say, made $36,000 a year, more than likely they're probably going to take home about $400. I don't think they're going to get that $600 increase as well. I think that's a max increase, so I think it's going to fluctuate on it. So they may go up to like $600, from 3 to 4 to 600. But I mean, it's not like it's all a max $600. Like people who choose not to work, who file unemployment and get like $110, $120, they're not going to end up getting $700, $800 now. No, they may end up getting like $200, $300. Like everything's fluctuated based on pay and all that. Right. And it's never good. No matter what anyone says, it's never going to be enough. And then just go back to the stimulus thing real quick. I had a friend of mine say that when she gets this, what first thing she's going to do is buy a trampoline. And I shit you not, that is a legit response. I love her. She's a great person, but that is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. And I get it. She's upset that she can't take her kids to the park and everything. And hey, I get that. It sucks that your kids are stuck inside the house. Right. But to spend a stimulus relief that you're supposed to use for bills and to keep a way of life for yourself, to buy a $400 or $500 trampoline? Yeah. It makes absolutely no sense. And it's those people that really screw the system up.
I don't know. I hear what you're saying, but I also feel like, once it's in your hands, you get to do with it what you want. And it's not like, if they're making their bills, if they're doing this, they're doing that, then they're keeping trampoline sellers in business. They might be helping out their local business. I hope they're buying it from a local trampoline salesperson, whether it's Walmart or a mom and pop or, preferably a mom and pop or, whatever. I hope they're not sending it to Amazon, Yeah.
Well, shit, the Amazon warehouse down here closed down because somebody, was, tested positive. They shut down to a clean old facility. Yeah. But, stimulus checks, I mean, obviously, there's still a discussion on who gets it, who's not, but based on the criteria now, light, premier, or extra?
Based on, I'd say premier. Premier. I think it's par for the course. I think they could be better, but I think it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Now, it was stated in the article that I read that they understand that there's tweaks that need to be made, but they did what they could to get the money out as soon as possible.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's like you said, there's things that need to be adjusted, and I'm sure they will. I don't know how the stimulus affects people who are on Social Security, who are on 401ks. I don't understand how it works out for them because I didn't read too far into it. I just kind of read the part where it says who gets it, who doesn't. Right. But they even said we understand that this isn't perfect. We're still working on it, but we need to get something out to get people the money, because if they were to sit there and try to critique it and make it perfect, people weren't probably seeing money until May.
Right. Well, some people won't anyway, Yeah.
Yeah. So. What are you freaking thinking about, Joe?
What am I freaking thinking about? I am really excited. So they put all my student loans in forbearance without my permission and reduced the interest to 0. Which I'm not complaining about it. I was fine. I still have a job. My wife still has a job. I don't mind continuing to pay my student loans. Yeah. However, because of that, I now feel like I can justify the purchase I made so I can do my job better, at the church. So I've got a new streaming camera coming, that I'm going to be able to I'm going to be able to use it for Easter. And I've got, soft light boxes to make the lighting better in my sanctuary for the camera. And, I'm really excited about the rig that I'm building to be able to do live streaming at my church, better than I've been able to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's a tax write-off, Joe. That's a business expense.
I know, right?
Right? You're putting back into the world, man.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping.
You're just trying to make Jesus look more fucking TV ready.
Right. Well, and with the way my hair's going. What about you? What are you freaking thinking?
So rumor has it, I mean, obviously, this weekend's Easter, which I don't know how many people really remember that, but, it's a fact. And, right, I am right? So this
yeah, it is.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So Good Friday, the work is closed, so I'm not working Friday, which sucks because as a temp you don't get holiday pay. But because of the whole pandemic thing, we had to shut down part of the business, and we're not working Thursday either. Temps aren't working Thursday. Regular employees are. So I'm off for about 4 days. So
Dang.
The weather's supposed to be a little chilly, but I'm going to try to get a lot of things done at the house. I don't think it's supposed to rain, so I'm going to do some yard work. But one of the big things I want to do is I think I have the first story to Freaky Tales kind of planned out, so I think I'm going to write that this weekend.
Nice.
And kind of kick off this Freaky Tales book that we're working on. Because I know we talk about it a lot, and we talk about a lot of shit that we. But the goal is by Saturday to have the first story of Freaky Tales written.
Nice.
And I think that would kind of kickstart us forward to try to get this going. Because April or not, October's not that far off. We're like, 6 months away.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely excited about doing that. But also, some odds and ends stuff around the house that needs to be done. And I got 4 days to do it. Obviously with Easter, I don't think we're doing anything or any get-togethers and stuff like that, no matter how much my mom wants it to. But, Freaky Tales, the first story will probably be written. And also figuring out how to give away the ball wash prize.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a meeting this weekend, Joe. Skype meeting, not in person because we're not rule breakers.
True. Yeah, good idea. Maybe Friday.
Ooh, yeah, excellent. Hey Joe.
Yes.
Every week our listeners can catch Cartoon Joe here on this freaking show. But of course, 1 hour Cartoon Joe just isn't enough for our listeners. They absolutely need more Cartoon Joe. So where can they go?
If you need more Cartoon Joe, you can find me over the Geekcast Live podcast at violentpress.com. You can also find us on Facebook, iTunes, Google Play, and Twitter by searching Geekcast Live.
Excellent. Guys, make sure you follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at This Freaking Show. You can find our episode every single week on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and Podbean just by searching This Freaking Show. A special thanks to Oh My Sophii for coming on the show. I had a blast. We loved talking to her, and we hope to do it again soon. Pick up our merchandise over at TeePublic, TeePublic.com just by searching TFS. We do have some sales coming up here very, very quickly. So make sure you follow our social media so you know when those land to pick up your merchandise and help out the podcast in any way possible. Thanks again to ballwash.com and Audible for being sponsors of the show. That's all I got. As always, I am Travis.
And I'm Cartoon Joe.
And thank you for listening to another episode of This Freaking Show. I'm out.